See, you can only love out of strength. It takes strength to love. You got to speak with purpose. We think that our salvation is based on performance. God is not a man that he can lie. He don't lie. You be a vessel that God can work. Because somebody might need your holy prayer to save them when they... Hi, Dr. Wilweek. Today we're going to be talking about the hallucination of separation, the hallucination of the possible separation. In today's discussion, we're going to discuss some things that I had mentioned in prior videos that we would be doing. I mentioned that we would be taking some excerpts from the Course in Miracles by Dr. Helen Schucman. And so I'm going to take an excerpt from her book because I want to talk about a particular thought or alternative thought, a thought for consideration for those of you who are viewing me. I know that when I began to read this book, that my mind was open up to some possibilities and some ulterior or alternative thoughts that actually opened understanding up to me. And for consideration, I'd like to give you some of these thoughts or share some of these thoughts with you. Now, and I call this is not in the book, this title is mine, The Hallucination of Separation. In this discussion, we're going to deal with the use of knowledge referred in the Bible as the cause of the fall or separation. There are some definitions which I asked you to take from the dictionary, which will be helpful here. They are somewhat unusual since they are not the first definitions which are given. Nevertheless, the fact that each of them does appear in the dictionary should be reassuring. Now we're going to talk about the word projection, the noun definition of projection. It is a plan in the mind. Then projection, used as a verb, means to extend forward or out. The third word we want to consider is the word world. The definition we're going to use for world is a natural grand division. We will refer later to projection as related to both mental health and mental illness. We have already observed that man can create an empty shell, but he cannot create nothing at all. This emptiness provides the screen for the misuse of projection. The Garden of Eden, which is described as a literal garden in the Bible, was not an actual garden at all. It was merely a mental state of complete need lack. Even in the literal account, it is noteworthy that the pre-separation state was essentially one in which man needed nothing. The tree of knowledge is also an overly literal figure. These concepts need to be clarified before the real meaning of the separation or the detour into fear can be fully understood. To project, as defined above, is a fundamental attribute of God which he gave to his Son. In the creation, God projected his creative ability from himself to the souls he created. And he also imbued them with the same loving will to create. The soul has not only been fully created, but has also been created perfect. There is no emptiness in it because of its likeness to its creator. It is creative. No child of God can lose this ability because it is inherent in what he is, but he can use it inappropriately. Whenever projection is used inappropriately, it always implies that some emptiness or lack exists, that it is in man's ability to put his own ideas there instead of truth. I want you to hear that sentence again. Whenever projection is used inappropriately, it always implies that some emptiness or lack exists, and that it is in man's ability to put his own ideas there instead of truth. If you consider carefully what this entails, the following will become quite apparent. First, the assumption is implicit that what God created can be changed by the mind of man. Second, the concept that what is perfect can be rendered imperfect or wanting, this is accepted. Third, the belief that man can distort the creations of God, including himself, is also accepted. Fourth, the idea that since man can create himself, the direction of his own creation is up to him. This is also implied. These related distortions represent a picture of what actually occurred in the separation. None of this exists before, nor does it actually exist now. The world was made as a natural grand division or projecting outward of God. That is why everything that He's created is like Him. Projection, as undertaken by God, is very similar to the kind of inner radiance which the children of the Father inherit from Him. It is important to note that the term project outward necessarily implies that the real source of projection is internal. This is as true of the Son as of the Father. So what we have been teaching implies these four distortions or ideas, and I don't think we've ever really questioned some of our teachings or what our belief system has been built on. Now we have to take in mind that we are God's creation. We have to take in mind who our Creator is and what He's capable of, and also what is incapable of Him because of who He is. When you think that you are empty, when you think that you are a mistake, you have taken this emptiness and used it as a screen to project some other horrors that are attributed to you as well as God. When projection is used inappropriately, it always implies that some emptiness or lack exists. Many of us believe that there's something lacking, there's something missing from us that needs to be added to us. And we believe that the answer is always outside of us. Whenever there's a search for peace or for fulfillment outside of us, this often leads to mental illness. True peace is recognized when you recognize that you have been appropriated or you have been given peace from God, and it's inward, not outward. Then you have peace of mind and you have mental health. So one more time, the first assumption is that we believe that we can change the mind of God. I've said before, if sin could change God's mind about us, then sin is greater than God. I want to say that again. I've said it before in past videos. If sin can change God's, as what we call sin, I'm talking about what we label as sin. I have another definition for what we label as sin. I'll give that to you a little later on. But as we think of sin, if we think that as we think of sin can change God's mind about us, then sin is greater than God. The second concept is that we've been created wanting, that we are wanting and that we're imperfect. How can a perfect God create an imperfect creation? Or how can a God that is full and whole create something that is wanting? It does not make logical sense. Number 3, the belief that man can distort God's creation. Man can distort God's creation, including himself. We accept that. We think that we can distort ourselves. We think we can destroy ourselves. And the fourth one is that because we have created this, and this creation of ourselves is ours, I call it the creation of the ego. And the ego creates our world. That in this creation, it's up to me to decide which direction I go. I can choose life or I can choose death. Those are bad distortions, and those are distortions that we need to set aside, and we need to see clearly what the truth is so that we can shine on these distortions, and when we shine the truth on these distortions, they will disappear, and the reality of the miracles that are housed in us that we can give to one another will begin to flow, because we will see each other as God sees us, and we will see ourselves as God sees us. We need to wake up out of this hallucination that we're separate from God. And we need to understand that we're one with him so that we can do the works that Jesus did and greater works. We are to do the works that Jesus did and greater works. We are to do miracles. We are to release miracles from our lives because God is our source of these miracles. The Spirit of God is our teacher and our guide on how and when these miracles should flow, but they're not sparse. They're not exclusive. These miracles are very inclusive, and it's a line of creative release of love that maximizes God's love for his creation, for his sons, for his sonship, that we are to magnify and release in the lives of our brothers and our sisters. But we have more to say on this matter, but we're going to take this slowly because for some of us, this is a completely change of mind, a renewing of mind. We have to consider something different than what we've considered before. We have to pray about it. We have to search the scriptures. We have to be won and wooed over by the Holy Spirit to the truth so that we can be all that God has created us to be. So we're going to take it slowly. I may be sending videos out on a more rapid schedule than before, because we want you to awaken to God's truth that he has for you. But until next time, I want you to remember that God has plans for your life, and none of those plans include defeat.
People of Greater Los Angeles, Apostle Will Wheat has a word from God that is revealing, powerful, and life-changing. Every Sunday, lives are being transformed by this powerful word from God. Families, businesses, church leaders, and the world are hearing God's plans for their lives. And none of those plans include defeat. It has been said that there have been Jesus sightings in his services. So you owe it to yourself to be a part of one of the greatest movements and Jesus sightings that this city has ever experienced. And you can download Apostle Wheat's Sunday messages for free at nccfc.net. nccfc.net. Sunday services are at 1 p.m. and midweek services are Wednesdays at 7 p.m. There is faith for your destiny at nccfc.net.